Welcome to another episode of Unpacking. So tonight we'll be delving into our another controversial topic, which are parental rights. I know for a lot of people out there, namely fathers and men that may go through this from time to time. This is a very, very big and unfair topic to most of us. Now I know that my friends here, or rather my co-hosts, have somewhat experienced some of these issues. I myself have not. I hope to never have to experience them as it relates to the negative aspects of it, but it could happen. So because it's a topic that bothers a lot of us, it's good to have a conversation about it. Now, of course, as you know, the memo here on Unpacking is to agree to disagree. All of what we say are not facts, but just mainly our opinions. Now, for tonight, we'll be delving into co-parenting, using kids as bargaining chips, unlawful acts, acrimony, and resolutions. Now, with all those listed, how are you feeling about that, Alex and Josh?
As you said, it's a big topic, and it's one that so often is overlooked, especially in our country, because men are known to be worthless in terms of their being fathers. That most in our society, it would seem that most Jamaican men are just sperm donors. Though we do have quite a few good men who stick by their children, whether or not they live with them, who provide, who, to the best of their ability, try to be good fathers, though they would not have had examples growing up themselves, or even as adults seeing other men parent, to kind of mirror that. But let's see how the discussion unfolds.
Of course. And what about you, Alex? How are you feeling about that? I mean, I know it's kind of close to home for you, and I get that. But how are you feeling about talking
Very
about it
close. Touching a bit too close to home today with this one, but I mean, it's something that affects society on a whole.
Somehow I feel most of the stuff that we talk about and Unpacking do is close to home. But
Exactly, that's true. It happens. But yeah, it affects the world at large overall. It happens a lot here, in the States, UK, all over the world, really. It's something that needs to be addressed, and at the same time, it's something that really, I think people, or should I say, the parents, should look into and try to, in some way, try to curb the habit of trying to have it being a one parent doing everything, or a one parent seeming as if they are the only responsible person in this whole relationship. So it's it's going to be a very interesting topic tonight.
excellent. Now, I like the fact that you just mentioned about parents who should be doing what, because the first topic that we have here tonight is co-parenting. Now, I know for a fact that Josh spoke about this before in our episode of parenting. He spoke about how he, in his own life, he tries to ensure that he, co-parents properly. Even though he doesn't live in the same house as his daughter, he tries to co-parent as best as possible. But to Josh, I asked this question: what is the importance of proper co-parenting, and when does this go bad, or what causes it to go bad?
The importance is quite obvious. That the child which you are responsible for was created by two human beings, and that child did not ask to be here. It's the parents, both parents' responsibility to see to the betterment and the well-being of said human being, So whether or not
even with that, not to cut you or anything, but even with that, why is it that even when co-parenting is brought into it, you said about the importance of the child and so forth. How is it that fathers are allowed or sometimes seen to be able to accept a weaker man and just get away with it? Because that's one of the main reasons why some of these problems do keep coming back, where the good fathers are punished for the ones who choose not to be same. Right? Why do you think we are allowed to do same? As in get away with certain things as relates to co-parenting.
Well, one of the things that some persons will not recognize, or they might recognize but will not ever admit to, is that our society has raised us that mothers have become independent, especially when a girl is raised by a single mom. The expectation is that, yes, whilst you have the dream of growing up, getting married, having children, and raising those children with your husband, the very reality is that your reality would have been like you were grown by just your mother. And so it's always at the back of their mind that, if ever this should happen to me, I'm going to ensure that I am a strong black woman and be both mother and father for my child. So you come into a situation where she's already prepared. Life has already prepared her for this happening. Whilst it's not desired, now she's faced with having a split home. The man is not living there. And so they step forward, and sometimes they step forward a little bit too much that it goes over the line of what the father should do. Other times it's because, yes, they give the father the opportunity to step up, and he is not there. He falters by the way, and so she assumes the responsibility.
All right. Okay.
Adding to that though, you do have the certain scenarios where it is that the women will just decide not to say anything to the father, not to let the father even know. They broke up before the father even knew that, hey, they're pregnant, and they decide, in that case, me and this person is not together anymore. I don't want to even bring him back into my life. I'm not going to say anything. Which is completely stupid, but it happens as well.
Okay, well, to that point, right? You essentially said that sometimes women hide the fact from the persons who they made the child with, right? My standpoint, or rather my view of why this can happen and why it continues to happen, is because what is law backs a woman more to keep a child away from her consort. If you're following what I'm saying to you, most things within the realm of what that is there. If you're brought to court for whatever reason, the jury is more likely to lean into the side of the mother, and understand, to more favor of her.
Well, all right. If we put it in the standard of the courts, it's more of, it has been in the past, it has always been that the favor of the courts will always go to the mother, as it is known and seen that the mothers are the nurturers. Law overall has basically sided with mothers over fathers in the entire situation of parental custody, parental rights. And that is how it has been seen since, well, time immemorial. So really and truly, even now, you can definitely say that men are afraid to even decide to bring this to court, as they are sure that most likely what will happen is that they will lose, which is not necessarily true. It's not necessarily true. It's just that you, as the man, have to prove that you are capable, and, well, still unfair, that you have to be proving that you're capable and in a position to be able to take care of your child for you to be able to see that child. But at the same time, it is not something that is completely impossible.
I can understand it. But even though we understand all of what you just said, how is it that even after looking at all it, because when I say it's hard to really get, you know, the favor in the father's favor, it's really, like you just said, doesn't have to need to be proven. But I guess this came from the fact that, you know, you do have good suffering from for the bad, and I get that. But at the same time, I think everyone should be judged individually and fairly, because in a case like with what could be happening with you, right? We understand that you want to provide as much stability as possible. You want to do exactly what you need to be doing. But because of how acrimonious someone is towards you, they will build a case to prevent this from happening. And they will bring this to the courtroom and say, hey, this is why I don't think this is such and such, and X, Y, and Z, and such and such. Why is it that the jury at that point in time, which may be probably 80% women, why is it that they cannot realize that some of the laws that we have here may not be judging men correctly? Because a lot of men have, some men won't even so much as try to go after this because they already understand how it will end.
Let's look at that standardization right there. The law here has been fixed in a certain way where it is that it doesn't allow for, well, or I wouldn't say it doesn't allow for, changes can indeed be made to it. The laws overall are all outdated and need to be amended, yes. But whereas in the States, in the UK, in a multitude of other countries, the laws are seen as fairer, which is a 50-50 possibility for both parties to get the how should I put it, the fairness that they both deserve when it comes on to, you know, child custody and all of that. At the end of the day, it is simply just that, as we know, it's a biased situation here when it comes down to the court system. And because of that bias that has been coming on since forever, men are more likely to just not want to take up that mantle and say, you know what this person is doing is unfair and it's utter rubbish. I need to take my time and I need to go and make a report to the court and then bring this to court so that the situation can be judged. It's not going, well, I'm not going to say it's not going to be easy for a man to get a fair trial about all of it, but at the same time, it is something that can be done.
All right, so I'm really glad you brought up all of what you just said right there. So very glad about that. The next point that we have here are bargaining chips, right? I know from my standpoint, young children at that, because most times when these things are happening between the two people in the relationship, the child is fairly young. Children do not know how to lie at a certain age, and as such they're able to say, okay, I have a better time staying with mommy than staying with daddy because it's so pure. You know, when they say these stuff, they mean it. It's actually how they feel. Why is it that? Because even though you have certain points where the child is placed, understand, to have this type of discussion, but even though it's being said that clearly, you know, I don't want to go and stay with mommy, why can't I go and stay with daddy instead because daddy is XYZ? They're still ruling in favor of the woman, right? They still will rule in favor of the mother because the mother is the mother. And no matter how good the father proves himself to be, that is just what that is. Then that mother proceeds to want to use that child as a bargaining chip where, you know, she will request things, you know, have standards set that this must be met at the end of every month because this is what needs to be paid for child support, knowing damn well that you don't need all of that right there. And had we been together, I would have not been paying such and such. How is it that the legal system steps forward to try to punish that man nonetheless because he should have not done whatever to that woman or whatever she's upset about or acrimonious about currently? how is that something that is still being done? And why is no legal system seeing the unfairness being put towards us men when we're in a situation like that? How is that so?
I do understand. As I said before, the legal system here is biased in a lot of ways.
I would even say it's just here. It's everywhere. This is not something conducive to where you're living. I mean, majority.
I would say the bias is about like 90-10.
Yeah, it probably might be higher here because of the culture.
International markets is probably like a 60-40.
Yeah, it's probably, but here, we kind of
like
what Josh said before. Yeah, exactly.
Men, as you said, right. Men are seen as...
No, I didn't say that. Josh did. That is true because a part of the culture is because we have that purview. So right there, we already we walk into the courtroom at a default. So with most of what happens here, the children are never taken into consideration, like I just said.
I'm actually not of that view.
What view?
We are somehow at a disadvantage just because we have testicles. When it comes on to the court system, I think a lot of it has to do with preparation and also the fact that there is very, very few cases of men stepping up to the plate or thinking it possible or necessary to seek legal action. It doesn't happen as often as we might think. And when it does happen, I'm not bashing legal aid. I'm not bashing other lawyers that have their plate full with many cases because of their affordability. But sometimes the legal representation just isn't sufficient, as well as a man wanting to go after full custody of his children and not gainfully employed does not spell sense to the court, whilst the mother is gainfully employed. So things like that does factor in. Yes, there is some amount of bias that women are better caretakers than males are, but we have to we have to make known that the preparation that is put into it and how you present your case oftentimes is shabby when it comes on to family court and men wanting to get custody of their children.
So basically you're saying that the reason why some of us get the wrong end of the stick is because we don't have good preparation or we don't have a good legal representation.
I do believe that we are not.
And he's completely correct. He is completely correct.
Okay.
It's just the fact that you are going to go before the court. Certain things need to be put in place before you can even decide that, hey, you're going to go for this. In the situation that Josh put forward a while ago where he's saying if you're going to go into the court for the reason of getting full custody, that's going to be very hard. You need to be, firstly, you'd have to be gainfully employed. You'd have to have a certain living situation where the child is able to get to school, have their own space, be able to work, and it's not in an environment that might be volatile for the child overall. At the same time, you would have to prove why it is that you want full custody over joint custody. And for you to actually say, all right, you're going to try to prove that, you'd have to prove that the mother is in some way incompetent or in some way cannot provide for the things the child will actually do. Exactly.
Not fit to parent.
So most likely if you're going to go in for full custody, you might not win. That's hard. To prove that a woman is not fit to take care of her child is kind of hard. The situation might be bad, but doesn't mean it can't get better. And it is the mother overall. So the court might not look at it as giving you full custody. If you're going in for joint custody, fine and well. Once you have your ducks in a row, you will most likely get it, as long as you have all your ducks in a row.
Alright. On that point, you have unlawful acts right here, right? These unlawful acts is requesting child support after a father not knowing that they even had a child to begin with. Now we know that in some instances, this can happen where we would believe that, whatever excursion we had with an individual, it ended right there. But something else happened, and because of something we may have said to them, not relating to that issue at all, they decided to use that level of acrimony against us to say, hey, I'm not going to let this person even know they have a child. But yet still, upon realizing that something may have happened in your life that may have been somewhat monumental, that would have bring you to some form of financial height, they now then request child support. And then this is sometimes successful because that child is definitely your child. Can any of you speak to why must this be fair? I mean, not saying you wouldn't want to provide for that child, but the truth be told, you did.
Sorry, I'm not going to speak to the fairness of it. Again, I will come to how this is presented and argued before a judge, because there must be precedence in order for a ruling in either be the defendant or what's the other one?
Plaintiff.
The plaintiff favor. There must be something that allows for same. Now, if it is that you can prove you would not have been made aware, and more often than not, when you are not aware of the child, it means that they do not bear your surname. That's one. If you can prove that you were never made, you were never notified that you have a child, you cannot be expected or held responsible for the years that would have passed. Now, your child support will be starting from the time that you would have found out about said child up until their 18th birthday.
Which, in the case of if you're trying to say that you're just finding out, the court would actually request a DNA test. So it would start from that point.
Right. So paternity test would be done. And another thing too is that people have to understand, if the mother had given the child to somebody else, and that person has been taking care of said child, and step up to say that, I think this is my daughter, I think this is my son still, that in and of itself can, given that the father, the biological father was not made aware, he can give up his parental right to the person, even if they're not together, and he would not have to foot any bill.
That's his actual choice.
Yeah, it's how it is argued. It is how it's brought. We always say that the legal system is against males, or it's flawed, or it's not perfect. But nothing in life is perfect. But the legal system works if you work it. If you are not knowledgeable of same and you do not work it in your favor, then you will always be on the wrong side of things. That is why some criminals are so confident in their proclivities, because they know that they're going to be exonerated. They know their lawyer is very crafty, and so we have assigned lawyer liar, that kind of thing, And when we hear certain lawyer names called, you're almost certain that the verdict will come back not guilty, even though you see a tape with the person.
I mean, if I'm being honest, that's a whole other story to unpack. A whole other story right there to unpack, as it relates to crime and law and punishment. But I do get the gist of what you're trying to say. That it's basically how your argument is presented and allowing things to work for you in quotations. But
Yeah.
like I said, it goes back to how you present yourself. But most of what the decision that comes from this that normally results in this is though the time is lost and people are keeping children away from XYZ, we're not just talking about the fact that the child support could be brought up, but somebody wanting to be a good father probably really wanted a child. The level of bitterness happening between those two right there. Do you believe in a courtroom where that is being argued, that person should not be fined anything for the fact that they essentially withheld their own offspring from them?
No, man. Somewhere in law, you must be able to bring some sort of charge. Just a pity that I would have to do more reading on that.
Isn't that some level of kidnapping? Well,
that's what I'm thinking actually. No, even if you're the parent, you can't kidnap your child. Because if I should take my child away without the knowledge of her mother for an extended period and nobody knows where we're going, or even if people know where we're going, the mere fact that she doesn't know and it was not agreed upon.
Yeah, that sounds like kidnapping.
It is kidnapping. And it's the same way, even though my daughter would live with her mother, their primary residence is with her mother. If her mother should take her and I do not have access to her, and when I'm trying to reach out, nobody's answering, I can't get anybody, I can report her to the police that she has kidnapped my child. So it works in both ways. But a lot of people don't actually know that. They think because you're a parent or because you're the mother, you can do as you will. No, not so.
They say we need to get educated, and if we plan to bring about some form of change to this, then
yes, I think the first thing that you should do is to get some education before you go impregnating people.
Proper legal advice.
Right.
Okay. So you said they could definitely work something out if somebody's trying to kidnap. I mean, based on what he just said right there, I mean, it sounds like kidnapping. I mean, me just listen to the whole scenario. It sounds like something illegal to me, even though the person is the parent. Yes.
And technically too, if you think of it, when a mother tells a father that, I am not going to let you see your child unless you furnish me with X and X, that's ransom,
It is. Yes,
no,
it is.
not definitely. So it's yeah.
That's ransom.
That's a no.
I mean,
no
it's a
question
ransom.
right there.
That's ransom.
Kidnapping.
But how does one prove that? Because it does not come back around to your word against mine.
No, that's why you record conversations.
Yeah,
Come on.
if it's recorded or you have it in a message or something, that's your proof right there. You can't say at that point. You can't say it's hearsay. Or if somebody else was there when it was said, you have a witness.
I know for a fact that some things can become inadmissible based on how they were acquired. Recording something illegally actually is one of those things.
But you see, the fact is that even though the party may not be aware, and that is why when you call customer service, they would advise you, either the automated message or when you get a representative, they would advise you that these calls are recorded for quality assurance, or they would give you a verbiage, right? Because it is illegal in most instances for you to be recording somebody without their knowledge. Note I said in most instances because it's really based on precedent and based on the judge's ruling. If I am trying to catch you in the act, there is no way I can then alert you to me recording same. So in a case like that, I don't believe that it will be thrown out. Even if it is not played for everybody, it is proof that you are holding a minor to whom I am a parent to ransom. That you are telling me I must give you this or that in order for me to see the child. So no, it should pass. I really should have gone to law school.
No, it would definitely pass right there.
Yeah.
You say you passed law school because he knows that information.
No. Alexander means defender of men. My middle name. That is the definition of same. At one point, I had aspirations to become a lawyer, but when I heard of the fees and the years of study, I thought.
But you understand.
What type of lawyer did you want to become?
You'd actually have to be a good liar too.
Not necessarily. You just.
No, I don't think so.
Because you will not only be representing clients who are.
And that is
Well,
where you're
I don't think that requires lying though, because
And that is where you're wrong. It's a choice.
In some ways it does, and it requires a very high level of persuasion.
I think the second one I can agree with, but not
Right,
the lying, not the lying.
You know,
Not
how
the
you
lying.
present it.
Because at the end of the day, when it comes to what is legal, it's about persuading a jury. Like when you go to get a visa, you have to persuade the person you want to run off. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but I don't think you have to lie to them. You have to use the rules and regulations of what the law is. You just have to know how to. No, I wouldn't say bending the truth either. I think it's about using what was given to you, like what Josh said before, to work in your favor. I think that's all it comes back to, but I don't think that's lying. I think that's
tell your client something or partially say something to mislead.
I mean, me saying to you that, listen, Alex, do not mention that there was a complete marijuana bonfire down by the house yesterday while you had that girl in that house. Because if you mention this, understand that that's what you were doing. I mean, there was many things you were doing that day, you know. Mention every other one but that.
Well, no. That's you inciting your client. That's you advising your client.
No. I think I know you have. You have lawyer client privilege. No, it is not lying. You are just you're not stating what can kill the case. And again, that goes back to having it work in your favor. Because you did say what you were doing. You just didn't say what you were doing after 11 to 12. That's all. But majority of what your day was, it is the truth. That's what you were doing. And because I know you have
Go
ahead.
Come back to the...
All right. Digress. Yes.
I mean, but that's a huge part about it, because if you're speaking about being educated, sometimes these people believe that leading with this kind of goes again what I just said about leading with the truth. It's not necessarily about you lying, but some things that may not, because both parties can be seen as unfit because of some things about them. Like some women can be seen as batshit crazy, or the fact that they're very possessive, or whatever the case might want to do, which would make them definitely unfit. And truth be told, that does make them unfit. However, to Alex's point, that's not about you having to be gainfully employed. The truth be told, that's a major factor in deciding who is a more fit parent, rather than my mental state. You understand? So
that is it. You see, when you go into a custody battle overall, even if you're gainfully employed, yes or no, you see, if you do want access to your child, you can still take it to court. It's just that you probably won't get primary custody at that point in time. However, you will still get your legal visitation rights and access to that child.
But your access may actually not be liberal, and you may have to have visitation that has somebody else there.
Supervisor.
Well, supervisor is when it's in a situation where it is that you are a risk at some point to that child. They would give you supervised visitation rights. Overall, though, if it is that you do have some of your ducks in a row, let's say you're not gainfully employed at the moment of this court hearing, you're not gainfully employed at the moment. However, you have other stuff. You have a car, you have a house, you have food in your fridge, and your ex-partner, probably at that point in time, is trying to keep your child away from you. You have all rights to bring the situation to the court and let the judge know this is what happens, and I just want to be able to see my child. She's probably not allowing me to see my child because I'm not giving her any money.
Okay.
I'm feeding the child, but I'm not giving her any money. The judge will still grant you your rights, whether it is that the judge says it's either a weekend privilege, or is it that couple days out of the week between X and Y time, you'll be able to see a child. It's just that in the primary case of where the child will live, it just probably will not be at your home until you can prove otherwise. So you can prove that, okay, you're not gainfully employed, you can step up. You have a bit more to your name versus what the other person has.
Okay, well, basically
So
from that and what
really
Josh said, I mean,
if you really want to take it to that level, I would advise any man out there that really and truly wants to get in their child's life, put your ducks in the row, take yourself down to the courthouse. You firstly have to make a report. The other party will be served with a date that they will need to appear at court, and both of you will appear at court and you present your case before the judge. And then
Alex,
there,
not to cut you, but I think whilst I agree with you to some extent, I think the first admonition would be to go and get yourself a job and see if after you have a source of income and you start providing her with the money that you would have usually provided her with to assist with the child or whatever she does.
That's in the event that you provided something in the first place, or in the event that you knew.
Yeah, but we're saying that she's not giving the access to the child because she's not receiving money. So
putting it in a wide array of it.
Yes,
it's
so
just
we have
get
to
your
ensure that when we get it wide like that, because what we don't want to do is to, one, mislead anyone, and two, we just want to make sure that we cover those bases as best as possible, keeping in mind our time constraint. These recordings do get a little long.
Well, that's true. But yeah, it's not a situation where it is that you, as a man, will lose. So, as I said, if it's something that you want to do it in yourself, that you want access to your child, go ahead and take your day in court. Do not try to shy away from it because you feel like nothing will come of it and you'll probably lose.
No, they will go to their dream first. What I call it, pink wall before they go.
And don't
Josh, I don't think men go to places.
You would be surprised.
You would be surprised.
And if not the man do it, when he tells his sister or he tells one of his female friends, they will gladly.
They'll do it.
Or one of his other male friends, they will gladly send it in and say, "Hide my ID, please," and write it.
Hide my ID, please.
Court of public opinion will send in their.
I mean, the good thing about that service, is that it's really raw and unfiltered, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. But sometimes it can be full of lies as well, because it is ultimately not fact. It's mostly opinion on most things. It's not necessarily about what really went down. It's about what I think went down. That's really it. No, that's mostly what it is. But based on what you guys said here, it seems as if what we need to do as men if we're ever caught in this situation is get a proper education. As what Alex said before, get your ducks in a row. As what Josh said, get a job. Paint the picture of what you need it to be seen as so it can work in your favor. Going back to a quote that Josh said before. Right? But I don't think this is something hard to fight, as per Alex's point. If you just decide that you want to do this, just go ahead and do it. Make the effort to want to do so. Once you think about legal stuff, it's all about the legal fees and you can be able to pay this. But remember, you only get the opportunity. Many people will only live through life. Well, everyone will live through life once. You don't want to not be there seeing your child grow up because of a decision you did not make while dealing with an acrimonious mother. That's something you don't want to happen, because at the end of the day, this is how the child will see it. You could have made that decision and you will not have an excuse for that. So I don't think that's something you would want to go through, nor anyone would want to see you go through, apart from who is. Yeah. But
Pointing fingers.
I'm not pointing any fingers, man. It's just that, sometimes there's some people literally just exist to make people miserable. And they get up every morning saying, hey, I'm going to make this person's life miserable. And when I'm done, I'll feel fulfilled. Some people are like that.
It's like Samson and Delilah. The first thing that she, I have to bring the Bible into this. The first thing that she said to him when they met is, how can I mess your life up in layman terms? So she asked him, how can I bind you? How can I mess your life up? She woke up with the one purpose.
I really think if you take that biblical scripture and put it in nowadays terms,
to fit perfectly.
He asks, how can I tie you? In the back of Samson's mind, you will be like, stupid.
Yeah, you already did that, you know that?
That's the first thing that was stupid. But I'm not gonna say it.
She did not say tie you. She said bind you.
I mean, binding is the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just the same thing. Bind and tie is the same thing.
What they call the thing there, BSM? You'd probably think that is some sort of foreplay and whips and things. So no, I don't.
BDSM, I think it's called.
Yes, that is. I wouldn't really know, but I know you would have catch on.
Yeah.
It's not BSM, it's BDSM.
Yeah, BDSM is not BDSM.
I know you
BDSM.
two would know. That is why you think.
And
I don't
guess
know
what? No, guess what? No. But guess who knows now? You now know.
I knew
You've been
before.
there, done that from the early 2000s.
Was drawing you two out.
Alex, he said he knew before. But he's trying us out. But all in all, this was
can't draw me out, I'm already out.
This was a very good conversation on this. I hope some of our fathers listening right now definitely take the action to ensure that they can get on their kids' life and get the proper legal advice they need to move forward. As usual, here on Unpacking is always a riveting discussion. You can leave your comments about topics you'd like us to discuss. We'll be more than happy to delve into those. You can follow us in our handle. They're all in the description. And of course, come back here every Monday at 9 to get more info on this and unpack more with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video on all platforms. And from us, Alex, Ryan, and Josh in the studio, thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your night.